wouldn't be baseball season if the Pirates didn't have a star player potentially on the trade block, as rumors of a Bryan Reynolds trade have once again arisen and reemerged here for the Pittsburgh Pirates as this season out a week away. Bryan Reynolds, of course, headed home in today's spring training game. Could he be on the move? It is reported that he could potentially be headed to San Diego to play with the Padres. But on today's episode, I break down all of those. I break down everything and my thoughts on it. I am, of course, host Ethan Smith, who hosts. Thank you for making me your first person of the day every single day, wherever you find your podcast. You can follow me at MVPP Ethan and at Locked On Pirates. You can find this podcast on Spotify, Odyssey, Google Play, Apple Podcast, and YouTube, or wherever you find your podcast. With that said, let's get into it.
You are Locked On Pirates, your daily Pittsburgh Pirates podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And what is going on, everybody, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, as the Ethan Smith, and I am having a phenomenal Thursday, March 31st, the final day of the month of March. And I woke up this morning before I had to work and saw that there was some Bryan Reynolds talk again. It was reported earlier this Thursday that Bryan Reynolds was in trade talks involved the San Diego Padres. And here's what I have to say about a lot. Well, there was an uproar a little bit about not seeing him outside GP before today's spring training game. He later clarified he was working specifically with Andy Hayes inside the clubhouse on some hittings as well. So that is that I think kind of served Pirates fans the wrong way. He was in the lineup today. He played well. He hit a home run in today's game. And at the end of the day, I just pose this question. This is the question that I will pose here. Does anybody think Bryan Reynolds will be right now? When I ask a question, a lot of people tend to get very upset because some people say, well, you know, he's our player. He was an all-star last year, Gold Glove finalist, Silver Slugger finalist, all the accolades that you could have as an outfielder in the National League. Bryan Reynolds had last year. I mean, he was a star, and as I already, I mean, almost won a Gold Glove, was in the running for Silver Slugger award, and he's a phenomenal player. But one of the biggest things that we've seen as an issue here in the Bryan Reynolds sweepstakes, into he will end up being eventually, is the extension clock. We've all advocated, and I've advocated for Bryan Reynolds to receive extension from the Pittsburgh Pirates for the pure reason of being that once you to that level of play, which I expect guys like a Ryan Hayes and an O'Neill Cruz and a Roansy Contreras to eventually get to, you'll be rewarded with a contract. So far, that hasn't happened. He was sent to arbitration. The Pirates had a different number than Bryan Reynolds did. Have to go to an arbitration hearing. Not exactly the best look for what is supposed to be a player-centric environment, but also not the greatest look for your player either. Bryan Reynolds, again, is the question best player on this base team. And you look around the entire NL Central, and we'll have an NL Central roundtable with all the hosts next week, and we'll also have Lucas Smith of Locked On on this podcast as well, and on a crossover talk about the opening day series. But when you look across the NL Central, Bryan Reynolds is a top 5 position player easily in this division, and maybe even a top 5 player in the entire division period. Of course, that's including guys like Corbin Burns, Jack Flaherty, and a lot of the other top pitchers in this division. On top of that, all the accolades that I've said, Bryan Reynolds has had nothing but success in the major leagues, except in 2020, which at this point is an aberration to most Pirates, including myself. I don't even consider 2020 for Reynolds whatsoever. I don't think it's even relevant at this point to consider Bryan Reynolds' 2020 season in any form or fashion of how he has grown as a player and where he has grown as a player. But there's two to this coin that you really have to look deep into and lay them out before we get back from a break. I will tell you which side I'm on. So there's the obvious, which is extend Bryan Reynolds. So after control is over with the Pittsburgh Pirates, Bryan Reynolds will be 30 years old. And, kind of interesting to talk about players in Major League Ball when they get to that 30 range, because a lot of times that's when they start seeing regression hit. Will that happen to Reynolds? Not Nostradamus, I can't tell you, but if he continues to play the way he does, and continues the way he did in 2021, and I've said this before, he's only going to get more expensive. He's only going to become more valuable. That's where the other part of this comes from, though. With the amount of control that the Pirates currently have on his track and everything, that's really saying here, you're probably going to get a haul for that if you realistically want to trade him and want to move. And when I mean a haul, I mean you look at the asking price. They're asking 3 top 100 prospects for Bryan Reynolds, which is fair. I mean, the guy was an all-star. He's a 300 hitter, phenomenal defender. You're going to get something back from him. But here's the thing that the Pirates need to be wary of here, and something that I also said in the Locked On MLB chat that a lot of people agreed with me on. If you're not going to extend him and have no reason to extend him, then trade him. Move on. No point of holding out hope that he had maybe like a bad year and then you can sign him for less. If you don't have the intentions of sending a guy to a multi-extension for a good amount of money that he rightly deserves, then you might need to go ahead and trade now while his value is as it is. They did with Adam Frazier last year. Did Adam Frazier to the San Diego Padres at his peak. He was hitting over 330 for a good part of there. It didn't work out for San Diego. Let's see if it works out for Pittsburgh with a lot of the prospects that they picked up from that deal. Same thing with Joe Musgrove and Jameson Taillon. They traded one value was the highest it could be. So would you say that Bryan Reynolds' value is the highest it can be right now? I will answer that here. But I will let you guys know about the wonderful people over at BetOnline. And of course, BetOnline is where game starts. It's where you should be doing all of your sport betting and wagering. And after months of playing, college basketball has determined the top teams for the Final Four and will determine this year's national champion this coming week. BetOnline is your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info, and from all the latest contests and player props, you name it, they have it. BetOnline remains the best spot for all of your latest sports developments, including podcasts and reviews for all the leagues this season. And it's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all your sporting wager information needs, including live betting and favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about transactions like O'Neal winning Rookie of the Year at 3-1 odds. And BetOnline is where the game starts. So again, we talk about Bryan Reynolds and is his value as it can be right now. I would yes. With the amount of team control that is left, that is enticing to other ball clubs. That's why I believe Gary tweeted this out that 28 other teams would clamor to have Bryan Reynolds on their baseball team. 28 or 20. All other 29 teams would find somewhere for Bryan Reynolds to play in the out. That's including the Dodgers. It's including the Red Sox. It's including the Yankees. They would find some for him to play. Pirates, of course, right now he's unquestionably their best out, or unquestionably their best player. But at the end of the day, do you max his value for what he's going to be worth on the open market? And that's where I give my opinion on this. Is Bryan Reynolds as a player is a phenomenal player. Can you blame him though if he wants to leave? Now, I'm not saying that he wants to leave. He's never said that. But with the O'Neal Cruz demotion to AAA, the surrounding Keane Hayes' injury, if he ever can become a very good player, I believe he will. At the end of the day, when does Bryan Reynolds down with himself and say, hey, is this team going to really try to round me with anything? On top of even getting paid in the place. And of course, they're hinging on prospects to do that right now, which is a big deal, and I'm okay with. But what happens when those prospects don't pan out and you're still in a rebuild, which is very possible. It happened to plenty of teams. It's happened to the Pirates even before. And they're sitting with Bryan Reynolds, who has 1 year of team control left, and a team that signs him is going to have hope that he wants us to sign on an extension. So you're seeing where a lot of this comes into fruition now with the idea that, Bryan Reynolds, again, to hop on it, is the best player on this team. It's traded, this fan base, including me, will be crushed. It will be absolutely devastated to see him leave, especially considering that he was the centerpiece around the trade, the last centerpiece. I think a lot of people forget that Bryan Reynolds was traded for Andrew McCutchen. The Pirates received him for that. That's why. And when you put it in perspective, Bryan Reynolds is kind of moving towards that trajectory of being that kind of guy in Pittsburgh that everybody loves. Name me one person that hates Bryan Reynolds. I couldn't. And the one thing that I like about Bryan Reynolds as well on this ball club, and it's something that I think Jacob Stallings also had that was left behind. He makes everybody around him better. Jacob Stallings, for instance, made every single pitcher on this roster better than what they were. You could see it when he wasn't pitching or catching. Michael Perez make these players better. Roberto Perez might, but unquestionably, Bryan Reynolds makes every player on diamond better. So trading him away would signify a lot here, because as we already know, if there's a trade package for Bryan Reynolds, going to be a haul. I'm in an absolute haul. Like you're talking about at least 3 top prospects and then some. That's what you're talking about here. And prospects are probably going to be ready to play in a year. So do you trade them or do you extend? That's a big question around Pirates fans right now. A couple days ago, was O'Neal Cruz getting an option to AAA. Now we're talking about Bryan Reynolds being traded again. For me, I am in the middle, as I am usually on a lot of things. If he gets traded, great. Bryan Reynolds is a Pittsburgh Pirate for however long he wants to be with an extension. If they trade him and what they receive back is worthy value, is very hard to match, be okay with it. Now, what does San Diego give them if they trade here? Probably one of those back-end rotation pitchers like a Chris Paddock. Or, there's also top-end prospects. Doubt they trade a C.J. Abrams, but I would love to see C.J. Abrams on the team. But you never know. And, I mean, you've already heard Ben Cherington in the past say that the asking price for Reynolds is high. They asked for Julio, reportedly asked for Julio Rodriguez from the Mariners. That's how high their ceiling is with Bryan Reynolds. Also, another thing that I want to talk about before we get to a quick break right here, and we're going to talk about it a little bit next, is the impact of what a Bryan Reynolds could have on this team, and we will be right back. Alrighty, everyone, and welcome back to the Locked On Pirates podcast. I am, of course, your host, Ethan, who does the most. Hopefully, you having, again, phenomenal Thursday, March 31st. And we're talking Bryan Reynolds. Trade rumors reemerging, especially specifically with the San Diego Padres. I don't truth behind all this. Of course, Bob Nightingale, Don Heyman, a couple of the guys already released that news, as I like to say. But what kind of effect would the Bryan Reynolds trade, or if there was a trade, have on the Pirates if it was to happen today? Well, at that point, Bly Madris on this roster. There would be no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Bly Madris would be on this roster. You'd probably still have one left. You would have Alford and Allen in some shape or form. Probably Greg Allen being the center. And then, of course, you'd probably have Driss in right field or left field, depending on however they wanted to do it. That would be the biggest, which I think that you would see the outfield reconstruction be a lot different. But so I think O'Neill's would also probably get called up pretty quickly as well, as fast as the option. Mainly because they would just need a bat in the lineup that can make up for Bryan Reynolds. And as it stands right now, they got it. They just don't. Brian Hayes, phenomenal play, phenomenal defensively. He's not Bryan Reynolds in terms of hitting. Roberto Perez, no. Ben Himmel, no. Alford and Greg Allen and Bly Madris, no. Cole Tucker and Kevin Min, Yoshitsugo, nope. Daniel Vogelbacher, Michael Davis is a DH, nope. Diego, who I talked about yesterday, can't trust that yet. So you would have to find a way here to replace his bat, and O'Neill Cruz would probably be the guy to do that. Now, as I said, I was mostly okay with the option of AAA for Cruz. Reynolds is traded. He'd be on this roster. Now, the likelihood that Reynolds traded, in my personal view, is about 15%. I think there's always a chance it happen. There's reasons that it's talked about as much. There's reasons that it's been rumored for about 6 months that he might get traded. But every team fields first for players. You saw Jim Rutherford do it with the Penguins. Had all kinds of conversations with other GMs about players. You see it probably with Kevin Colbert and Tomlin. They have all kinds of conversations with players. I mean, Mike Tomlin, since Steelers fan had a buzz because he called Tyrann Mathieu or texted Tyrann Mathieu. There's no harm in what another team want to give for your player. There's no harm in it. Doesn't mean that Barrington is going to accept it unless he gets something that he really likes. And I really likes. And at the end of the day, he may get there. He might get something that good old GMC can't say no to. But also, it's going to take a long look in the mirror to trade Bryan Reynolds. It really is. And the two schools of thought are either him or trade him. Why do they have to do either? Have to do either. Nothing's saying them to extend him. Nothing is forcing them to trade him. He still has 3 years of team control. That's a lot of time to figure this situation out. Because the Pirates take a noticeable step in 2023. 2024 would be his last year of team control. But by then, the Pirates will know if they're a contender. You're not a contender, yeah, trade him. His value won't be as high as it is now. At least you'll know that if you trade him, at what point you know that you're not a contender yet. If you are a contender, though, then you can slide him on into the office, maybe sign an extension. You have your center fielder during your championship window. It's a lot of thinking, and it's a lot of a process here with this Reynolds situation. But as I want to mention as well, none of this is set in stone. They're all rumors. But at the end of the day, when you hear a rumor so many times, you have to believe that it eventually come true. And does that happen with Bryan Reynolds? Probably not. Could it happen? Yes. So there's a small likelihood that Reynolds is traded, but I don't expect it to happen yet. It happen in the future, 1%. Is it going to happen in the next week or the next couple months or even the season period? I wouldn't bet on it. I would not bet on it at all. And I want your guys' thoughts on this. Of course, it is a double upload. So other episode, which will also be out on YouTube, Spotify, Odyssey, and podcasts and everything. We'll be touching on my predictions for the opening day lineup, as well as the bench players that will behind said lineup. And with that said, guys, thank you for making me your first listen today, every single day, wherever you get your podcast. Of course, you could follow me on Twitter at MVP_thin, and of course, at Locked On Pirates. You know where to find me. Of course, make sure you go to YouTube, hit subscribe button, turn on the notification bell on any of your pod devices to know when our latest episodes are dropping. And you've made me your listen of the day. Make sure you make Locked On MLB your second listen of the day. Of course, Paul Francis Sullivan is a baseball encyclopedia, but call him Sully. He is covering events from the past and present and giving you analysis on all 30 MLB teams. So make sure you go check that out. That said, guys, thanks so much. Have a phenomenal rest of your Thursday. Check out the other episodes we're dropping today. And I will see you guys tomorrow with Adam Bittner to predict the rotation at the beginning of the year. Bye, guys.